Oh, baby.
What is up from
got
Detroit?
A hat.
I'm even wearing a button down, kind of, right? Or what do we call this? A polo?
It's something with a collar. He's got sleeves that go beyond the shoulder.
Yeah, coming live from Reindustrialize in Detroit. It's been an amazing 2-day conference. Thinking about how we, make America reindustrialized again.
This doesn't feel like a conference. Everything I'm seeing on the internet feels a little bit like Burning Man for like hard tech nerds. I mean, what's the vibe?
Yeah, I have yet to go to a single talk. That's not true. I saw Palmer Luckey's robot earlier, but it's been great meeting founders, people in the ecosystem, people in government, just like kind of vibing together.
I actually don't really care about the conference. What were you doing last night?
Last night, there was a couple great events. So someone we'll hopefully talk to later hosted a dinner, had, some VC-backed founders, had a family-run factory outside of Boston that makes an essential piece for a submarine, 66-person factory. So everything from small factories to the large VC companies that are trying to do really cool new stuff, and everybody kind of on the same mission of like, how do we make cool things? How do we make, this things work? And how do we build? So great kind of dinners, great environment, and everybody's kind of excited to meet other people that are in this space and wanting to kind of have that common mission together. So it's a great environment to be in.
Welcome, everybody. This is the Steam Zone. Ben is on the road at Reindustrialize. I'm here in your favorite headquarters in Bushwick, Brooklyn, keeping it a little hot, a little steamy over here. We'll see. This episode is going to have a little something for everyone. A little hard tech gossip, maybe some tabs, maybe some pop-in guests. Our goal is the same as always. It's to bring you the week in America's critical industries for the masses. Ben and I have been steaming on some stuff all week. There have been some takes we're just ready to tear to shreds. And look at this. We got a guest right now. Our first guest, Chris Luecke. You look well rested for a guy who's been ripping it in Detroit for 2 or 3 days now. Chris, you also are the host of one of my new favorite podcasts, which is Manufacturing Happy Hour, which I feel like the whole last 2 days has been Manufacturing Happy Hour. What's it like being ahead of the curve, dude?
It was I was ahead of the curve when it came to creating videos in the manufacturing space, and now it feels like a true manufacturing happy hour with all the socializing and collaboration and networking taking place out here. This is truly a VIP style industrial event, and just great energy all around, and people that are really trying to push the needle forward.
How many podcasts have you recorded in the last 2 days?
So it's interesting. I'm actually here recruiting my next round of podcasters. I do a ton of podcast recordings at a lot of conferences. In this case, I've appeared on someone's podcast. I've appeared on yours. I did a quick recording at New Lab, which is a great makerspace right down the road from where the conference is taking place on Tuesday after I arrived. But for the most part, I'm just getting warmed up for my next round of guests. I can tell you this. I have met a lot of people that are going to have a lot of very cool stories and applications and advice to share on the show very, very soon.
Give us a preview. What's the best thing you've seen?
Oh, gosh. I mean, one thing I try to do on the show, admittedly, the way I describe Manufacturing Happy Hour is it's a leadership podcast disguised as a manufacturing podcast. But the other thing I like to do is to feature just the cool tech that's coming out. And one of the products that I came across is a new company called Land, Land. They're a motorcycle company based out of Cleveland, Ohio, and they are reimagining the way electric bikes are done in a sleek, low-cost design. The bikes themselves are easy to manufacture, but it's the electrification and the brains behind the bike that are the real special things. So that's one of the applications that you can count on coming to Manufacturing Happy Hour in the near future.
Fun fact, I used to work for the Cleveland Browns, so Cleveland, Ohio is still close to my heart.
Yes, the Cleveland Browns, an organization that pulls at one's heartstrings on a regular basis, but has one of the most dedicated fan bases that I know.
We love the Cleveland. Everybody in Cleveland, just they're good people. Bless their hearts, I think, as as we're meant to say. Chris, give us something like when you think back on the talks you've heard and the people you met in the last 2 days. What if for someone who's not in Detroit or is not like in this reindustrialized movement and they're kind of scratching their heads like why are these people obsessed with this? Like what is the nerd con happening in the central United States right now? What is the one thing that people should take away from the fact that this event is going on? What do people need to know?
Yeah, what I'll share is that if you think about like how finance was big in the 90s, everyone was running to New York and the coast to get into that industry. Everyone started running to San Francisco and the tech towns in the 2000s and 2010s because software was huge. I believe that the folks here also feel this way, that's going to be manufacturing here at this next stage of the 21st century. There's a lot of energy around industrials, around defense tech, around energy itself as well. And the sense is that this is the spot to be. And it really is, because you're looking at everyone from policymakers to VCs to startups to people that have been manufacturing for decades or a century. All of these different groups within the ecosystem are represented here right now. And the way I would describe it, there are, I believe, between 1,000 and 2,000 people here. Everyone is looking for ways to help one another, ways to collaborate, and ways to not only move individual businesses forward, but the nation forward as well.
Okay, what you're saying about the energy is totally palpable. It's just it's oozing out of every room. It's great.
Chris, I got one more thing for you before we let you go. The podcast you did with Brett Boyd at Sustainment last week, phenomenal. We're going to play a clip from it in a minute. But you guys talked about a survey that the NAIA, the group that puts on Reindustrialize, that they are in the field with right now, talking to factories and to manufacturers about what they need. And there was a fairly surprising finding. You talked about that it's not just workers, it's not just the workforce that is lacking, it's actually access to capital. And I know Austin Bishop just got off stage a little while ago talking about one of the ways that they are trying to fill that gap. Tell us what is afoot here in the financing space for manufacturers that folks should be looking into or that folks should be looking out for.
You know, the good news is it's not just a single solution, and that caught me by surprise, and I think that caught Brett and probably the surveyors by surprise as well, because especially the folks I talk to on the podcast, workforce always seems to come up, but we don't always mention access to capital. And one of the areas that's near and dear to my heart, I helped a startup with this at one point, is machine as a service, robotics as a service, ways that you can start paying for new technology, implementing new technology, let's say in this case robotics, to a place that may have never had a robot or a collaborative robot before. There are companies out there like Formic, another company that's running around in Reindustrialize right now, that have created their models based on robots as a service. So let's say you're a small to mid-sized manufacturer and you need a cobot, a collaborative robot for welding. Well, there are companies like Path Robotics that exist right now, also here at this event, that offer that type of technology, that type of solution, that type of application on what I say is something that would come out of the operations budget rather than the capital budget. You are paying as it produces rather than having to save that money and finance it all up front. So that's one of many solutions that are out there right now. We could go on. I think Brett and I talked about it in our podcast that MEPs, the Manufacturing Extension Partnership, you have those different organizations in each state that often have incentives and ways manufacturers can pursue critical projects in cybersecurity or other initiatives where there's some help in that financing as well.
Awesome, man. Hey, I know you got to get back out there. Give us 10 seconds. Anything, blow off some steam for us, Chris. What's on your mind as we send you off?
You know what? I'm just excited to keep and this is one of the things I think about at a lot of conferences, but I'm excited to keep the energy going after I walk out of Hudson's here in Detroit and head back home, because it's easy to keep the vibes and energy high when you're surrounded by all of these go-getters. But what's going to be really important is for all of us to keep that going and getting real results after we leave Detroit.
Awesome, man. Hey, thanks for dropping in. The podcast is Manufacturing Happy Hour. Subscribe. We'll link to it in the show. Chris, great to see you, man.
Thanks so much. Appreciate you having me.
I'll see you later tonight.
Ben will buy you a beer at the open bar. What's crazy, Ben, is there's like hundreds, if not thousands, of these people. Like, everybody you meet seems just super interesting, super cool. He's been ahead of the game. He's been doing this for years. That was fun with Chris. His podcast is awesome. I think we'll go ahead and close out this tab on his conversation with Brett. Very, very high quality stuff. Breaking news here, Ben. I don't know if you saw. Chris Power, the CEO and founder of Hadrian, was on stage yesterday. He opened the conference for the second straight year with kind of this call to arms. It's awesome hearing someone with a very clearly non-American accent talk about why the United States needs to reindustrialize. It's awesome. And then this afternoon, they just dropped some big news. A $260 million Series C led by Founders Fund and Lux Capital and Morgan Stanley. So we've got some more non-venture, some of these more mature kind of institutional players coming in. What a beast of a company. What are you hearing about Hadrian on the ground?
Yeah, I think it's all the buzz. There's like 1,000 Hadrian hats in the lobby they're handing out. So maybe I'll trade it out later today. But I think it shows that there is capital and excitement beyond just the noise that we're hearing. There's real action happening, and this is the clear start or continuation in many ways of that.
Totally. I think one of the things we see now with raises, which is cool, is it's not just the money. There's usually a build alongside it. So with this one, they announced Factory 3, 4 times the size of Factory 2 in Arizona. It'll be online by Christmas. And they've got a whole bunch of other cool announcements coming out. 500,000 square feet of new research and development and headquarters space. These guys are crushing. The other thing I saw, Ben, were you inside for Palmer? Yeah,
I saw the robot. It's exciting times. A lot of work to go, but these things don't happen overnight. So it was cool to hear his voice and see the robot move their arms and move a little bit. And I'm sure next year it'll be even cooler.
It looked like he maybe was like trying to shake Ashlee's hand, but like didn't quite work.
It was not a perfect robot, but I think if we let perfect be the enemy of better, then this whole movement won't happen.
What's the first robotic task that you're going to task your at-home humanoid with doing?
I think folding my shirts, my t-shirts. I just can't get the left and the right side of the t-shirts to be perfectly even. So that could be a good one. Maybe, I don't mind putting away the dishes, so I could see that. That's fine. But I think t-shirt folding. I've got socks. Pants are easy. But t-shirt folding could be a key task.
Look at this. We've got another pop into the Steam Zone. Eduardo, welcome to the Steam Zone, my friend.
Thanks, Noah. Good to be here. And then beautiful Detroit, Michigan here at the Reindustrialize conference.
You and Ben look like you're maybe on two sides of the same wall. Slightly different orientation there, but I recognize that kind of goldish brown. That's very nice.
Yeah, the beige was very strong here in Detroit.
And a Diet Coke, which I hear there's only another week or two where you can get that high fructose corn syrup because it's going to be all sugar, baby.
No, diet's aspartame. There's no sugar in it.
Oh, wow. That shows you that I am no soda drinker. But I heard Mexican Coke is coming to the U.S. We're getting all sugar Coke.
I'll take it.
Natural sugar cane.
I decided I'd rather have cancer than diabetes, so I drink this.
God bless America, where you have the freedom to choose, my friend. Eduardo, let the good people at home know who are you and what do you do and why the heck are you in Detroit on a hot summer day?
Well, I'm just a guy. I run an industrial inspection technology company called Field. We make hardware and software that we sell to automotive suppliers, aerospace and defense manufacturing organizations, people that make medical devices. And we'll give them industrial computing tomography scanning systems, which just means, it's a very fancy way to say 3D X-ray scanning. So you can see inside of things. It's very similar to what you would see in like checked baggage at a major airport, but much higher resolution. So the same kind of physics, the same kind of technology, but we put it into a manufacturing floor and scans 10,000 parts a day to help manufacturers understand quality control issues before they have a recall or a quality escape or any other major issues that might cause them to lose millions of donated dollars.
How did you even think about this idea?
Yeah, it comes out of the experiences that I've had, previously in my career. Worked in semiconductor fabrication in grad school, and then went on to work in 3D printing for several years, and just kept coming back to this idea that there's not a good way to close the loop between the things that are being measured in a factory and the way that you design the parts and systems that power so much of modern society. So if we can close that loop and move faster and be more efficient, I think we can accomplish some pretty incredible things.
When you talk about this mission to people who are not in the conference hall with you there, who are deeply invested in this mission, what about what you're doing resonates with an everyday American, somebody who's maybe doesn't think too much about machine shops or about manufacturing? Why should people be invested in what it is you're doing?
I think there's two answers. One is I think we create some really cool images and videos. So there's a lot of fun stuff on our website. We work regularly with a bunch of YouTubers who are into science and technology and manufacturing, and they look inside of things, and it's just really engaging. It's fun content. But a more serious answer is, our customers are making things that, moms and dads use every day to keep their kids healthy and safe. There's even things that doctors use, patients. We scan things that go inside your body. We scan stuff that attaches to your body or goes in your car. We want to make sure that the things around us work as well as we expect them to. I think a lot of people take for granted the work that goes into engineering, manufacturing, and quality controlling so many of the things in our lives. And we know how painful it is to have that experience of a product fail, even if it's something as basic as, a wheel snapping off of your desk chair. When that happens and your car strains you on the side of the road or your glucose monitor doesn't work, those are more painful, more extreme outcomes. And that's all because of the lack of quality control. So we're trying to make this technology, make quality control easier, faster, cheaper, better. And that impacts everybody's lives. If you consume things and if you're in a good old US of A, you're consuming a lot. You want to know that your stuff is good and it's working. It's worth the money that you pay for it.
Manufacturing is one of those things where we don't think about how the stuff we use is made until it doesn't work. And then, and only then, do we start to care. Very cool. Yeah. Appreciate you dropping by, Eduardo. What's the coolest thing you've seen out there in Detroit in the last day and a half?
Oh man, well, so Ben and I and another friend of ours did the Boom Aerospace flight simulator. That's pretty sick. So got to virtually land a supersonic airplane on a landing strip. That was pretty fun.
I crashed mine.
Okay, all right. I wasn't going to go there, but my landing was a little better,
Do you have any?
No,
do you have any?
It's good to be out here.
Any training in flight in air flight?
No, but it was like it was already landing and just had to not crash it.
But he's an engineer by trade. I'm not an engineer, so
Ben's a switchy guy. That's awesome. Awesome, man. Well, Eduardo, we appreciate you. Thanks for dropping in. As you're heading out here, feel free to blow off some steam. Give us 15 seconds. What's on your mind? What do you want people to know as you sign off here?
My incredibly specific reindustrialize hot take is I don't think we're going to reindustrialize America with 1,000 startups. I think we need to engage and work with massive American industrial companies that are building chips and cars and houses and all the other things that make us a superpower. And I feel like the startup community needs to do a lot more work to work with those companies, build solutions for them, make them more successful, make them more competitive, instead of just running around shitting on how old-fashioned, the things that made our country what it is actually are. So I think a hint of humility and a little bit more getting things done, a little bit less talking, probably go a long way.
Execution matters.
Less talking, more doing.
Less talking, more doing. There we go. See, much more concise.
That's a great way to end it. We'll let you get back to doing, sir. Thanks for hopping on, Eduardo.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
The conversation about lots of startups getting to versus maturing is a really good segue to kind of this next topic we had teed up here, which is the nuclear renaissance right now in this country. And, the director of the Office of Science and Technology Policy, Michael Kratsios, gave some remarks yesterday, and it was focused, very squarely on that nuclear renaissance. I'm just going to play a second of this here for you.
The Trump administration has prioritized American energy dominance from its first day back in office. and in particular has taken historic action to promote nuclear innovation and generate a nuclear renaissance. For too long, America's great innovators and entrepreneurs have run into brick walls when it comes to nuclear technologies, making what should be the American people's most reliable, safe, and secure energy source unaffordable.
So, well, maybe we'll leave this one there. I don't want to go, because I think the theme is pretty clear, right? Nuclear energy is not new. We've had that technology for a long time. That said, the hype around nuclear right now seems crazy. What are you hearing about nuclear? How many people have you run into who are working on or bullish on nuclear tech?
There are definitely a few hats around here that are make nuclear great again. So it's certainly, I think, a piece of that of the larger puzzle. And I think it goes exactly with what Eduardo was saying was, it can't all be, and there are, I'm sure, and I know a lot of great startups that are doing stuff in nuclear, but this is also a technology that exists, right? So how do you add some new flavors in, but also build on the work that's already been done for 50, 60, 70 years of nuclear power in the United States?
Yeah, what strikes me is there are so many right now playing in this space. So on fission, you've got Standard Nuclear, Radiant, TerraPower, Kairos, Oklo, NuScale, X Energy, Nano Nuclear, and a number more. Just focused on those kind of miniaturization, those reactors. And then on the fusion side, you got a bunch more. Type 1, Electric Fusion, X Fusion, Tokamak, Kronos, and that's just a small sample. Why do you think we're seeing this boom of nuclear startups today?
Yeah, I don't know. Nuclear's cool again, right? So maybe, I'm sure it's a confluence of factors, right? But I think we saw, as the world sees successes of hardware companies in the world, right? Your SpaceXs, your Teslas, that you can do things. Hardware is cool again, right? And so people are playing in this space, and then I think there's a unique moment where we realize, with AI, we're going to need a lot more power, right? So it's all these confluence of factors of the demand, the ability to do it, regulatory opportunity, right? I think that it's all the right timing and and so that attracts the right people and companies.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think it's this kind of this first principles thing of, if you got lots of AI and you got lots of compute and you got lots of factories, this all takes power. And where do you get large amounts of power without dependence on the rest of the world? You got to do it domestically. We've got fossil fuels, we got clean, and then you've got now nuclear kind of coming back. So let's go ahead and close out that tab. We got another kind of interesting take here. The Secretary of the Navy, John Phelan, was on stage yesterday, and he had some comments about some similar topics. He talked about kind of where we've been and where we're going from a workforce standpoint. Let's just take a quick listen there.
I believe we've spent the last 10 years teaching people how to code. We're going to spend the next 10 years teaching people how to use their hands. This will be the critical skill, and the one the markets will demand, and the one our nation needs moving forward.
So Ben, I think we've talked about this before. Software had its moment really the last decade and a half. This is the focus. You now have the Secretary of the Navy saying that the big thing is people using their hands again. Certainly, the fact that there's this energy around reindustrialize seems testament to that. Have you run into any software people at this conference?
Well, I'm a software guy, and I think where the software matters a lot is how it enables that bridge between the physical world, right? So the B2B productivity tool that makes you better at just doing more software isn't the center of the topic, right? It is what software as a piece, as a tool, right? Which is always just a tool to build things. And that obviously is an important, an essential piece of reindustrializing, right? We have to move forward. We have to use all the tools. So you're not going to do nuclear, you're not going to do CT scanning, you're not going to do all this stuff without the best software, because that's going to make you have a better physical world, outcome.
But we're hearing a lot about automating the software side, these early tools, these agentic coding or code assistants or agentic developers. It seems like the hardware side, the automation is maybe a little bit slower behind, or farther behind, or you're not hearing really about automated or robotic plumbers just yet. What do you think? How far behind do you think that stuff is?
Well, I think it's harder, right? Like you can just iterate faster on software, right? And I think the speed of iteration is the speed of outcome, right? And so it's a lot harder to get a robot to fix a toilet and then see how it does than it is to run some test code, run it again, run it again, run it again, and you'll have run it 1,000 times before you even have the robot approach the toilet to go fix it, right? So it's harder. So it should be slower. It'd be weird if it was just as fast.
Yeah, fair, very fair points. I think we'll go ahead and close out that tab. One other topic, Ben, coming back to our old friends at the abundance movement. This speaks to kind of focusing on outcomes, more of things. Interesting op-ed this week in the National Interest from former Deputy Secretary of Defense Kath Hicks and Wendy Anderson, a senior counselor both at Palantir, a senior advisor in the Pentagon. And they put forward what they called an abundance national security strategy. What did you make of this take, Ben? I know you're abundance pilled. You're a big fan of the agenda. What do you think about applying it to the national security space?
Yeah, I think not only does everything need abundance, right? We need abundance in the NBA. We need it in F1. We need it everywhere. But also, we need more Grand Prix in the United States. But we'll talk about that later. But I think on national security, it also not only in and of itself needs it, but it is an enabler for everything else, right? If you want to be able to build a lot more housing, if you want to be able to have really great people in healthcare, you need to have a strong national defense, a strong national security that allows people to focus on other things.
Yeah, so their argument is that really from semiconductors to infrastructure, housing to energy, both parties now agree. So they're making a claim this is a bipartisan agenda. America must rebuild its capacity to make things. And they argue the Defense Department is really at the forefront of driving demand. So if they drive the demand, that catalyzes industry to build, and that lowers prices for everybody. So these core priorities should also include national security. Certainly, the conference you're at would agree. I guess maybe a question is, what do you think national security abundance looks like?
I think it looks like getting the outcomes we need that enable everything else, right? If I want to build really great big buildings, strong, tall buildings, I need steel. If my steel has to go in and is wasted and not efficiently used to make the submarines that I need for national defense, then that takes away from the steel I need to go build big buildings, right? And you could take that for anything. If I can't safely build a nuclear plant to power AI because I'm focused on other things, then it's really attention, it's focus, it's the safety to go take risk, right? You can't do that in an environment where you're not safe and secure. So it is the bedrock of everything else.
I think it's an abundance of swag. Like, what are you doing in that with those full sleeves today? I was expecting you to be kitted out with a different name brand on every piece of clothing that you were wearing. Because if there's one thing I've learned about going to these conferences, it's that swag is in no short supply. I'm a little disappointed.
Yeah, I'm an abundance of nameless brands. Is my philosophy.
All right, I think we are going to go ahead and close that tab. One other item in the media ecosystem this week, the Tool or Die podcast. This is an interesting one. We haven't had these guys before. They had Daniel Bayerdorfer, the third generation owner of a company called Numerol Stamp and Tool. And Daniel's trying to keep his family legacy alive in rural Maine. We haven't talked too much about tariffs here on the Steam Zone, but this is kind of a different conversation. It has to do with how tariffs have played with supply and demand in companies like Daniel's. Let's listen to a clip here.
We got a big boost when everyone was afraid the tariffs were going to kick in on everything.
Yeah.
And so everyone just kind of ordered in advance. And so now that's slowed down again. And even, I don't know if you saw it today, the PMI index came out and it went down again for May. And I'd say that's pretty accurate of how our sales have been as well. And but I think going forward, I'm more positive about the future than I have been in probably 30 years. We've watched the U.S. through Wall Street and the government destroy manufacturing in this country, either on purpose or just to make an extra 50 cents on whatever product. And I'm not going to say that they've done everything right in trying to bring manufacturing back so far, but at least they want to and are trying. Just that alone makes me more confident about the future.
Ben, what do you, when you hear that, when you hear, hey, I'm more optimistic than I have been in 30 freaking years, I mean, what does that do for you? Like, do you agree with him?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of reason. First of all, you have to be optimistic. Like anyone starting a company or continuing a company, you have to believe that the future is better, or else, who wants to manage decline? That sounds miserable. So I think the optimism is, and I think it's right to be optimistic. But whether right or not, it is the only possible attitude that you can have. And I think there's a lot of reason to be optimistic, right? I think there is a bipartisan, there is a national consensus that we need to do a lot of this stuff, and so I think he's in a prime position to capitalize on it, and will be a one of many doing really impactful things to help America grow.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at that, when I see a third generation business owner like that, I mean, this is not somebody who's there to be he's not trying to be political. He's not trying to throw barbs. This is somebody who's carrying a family legacy, who's producing, I mean, their business is like the stamps for the bands that go on like Chicken Feet, right? I mean, there are just some fascinating industries. This is what I love about this space and this movement, is we're starting to hear some of these stories from corners of the economy that just go completely, it's sort of like how we talk about the flyover states. This is the flyover economy. You don't hear the stories about this. Everything we hear is about, the big high-flying Silicon Valley tech founder. These are the guys who are powering the backbone of America. They're building, they've allowed us, they've supplied the food chains, they've supplied our, toys and textiles and everything, for the construction industry in this country. And so hearing the voice of these people, and platforming them in these different media environments, I love to see that. I love to see that. Have you guys have you gotten to hear from any kind of like family run businesses over there?
Yeah, I had dinner last night with a guy who's, I think, third generation factory, small factory, 45 minutes south of Boston, works on an essential piece of a Navy submarine, 66 people in his factory, and he's the next generation, and he's talking about both like continuing the legacy of it, but how do you adopt new tools to go faster? How do you use AI to make a certain process better? Grounded in the history, grounded in the hard learned lessons, right? To build something like a factory. And I think you're right. I think when you talk about flyover or skip over, it's like, you and I have been on campuses of schools, right? And where are we pushing the young, great minds of America? Are we pushing them into building things? Or are we pushing them into getting them more, working for companies that get you more addicted to your phone, working for companies that move, allocate capital, which is an important part of the process of the world, but like, I don't think even, and I wish, and part of it's on me 100%, but I wish from a younger age I was exposed to, there's all sorts of companies out there. You can go run a factory plant and you can go weld stuff and it's awesome and you're going to have a lot of fun. And so I think getting those opportunities to young Americans so they can be informed about what's out there would be amazing.
Amen, brother. I think that's the joy in all of this, the human side of it. Let's go ahead and close that tab. One more national security topic that actually I found fascinating this week. The Irregular Warfare podcast. So switching gears a little bit from manufacturing. You had two folks on this podcast. You had John Feiner from the former State Department, and you had Sheena Greitens. And they're talking about this concept of security hybridization. And this is a new trend in kind of, I know you're deep in the manufacturing space out there, Ben, but this one is relevant because it's what this is all about. And this is about our competition with China. And what we're seeing right now, more than ever before, is unlike in the Cold War where countries just split. They were either in the Soviet umbrella or they were in the American umbrella, and you had a couple non-aligned countries in the middle. What you're seeing now is countries that are taking some things from both, because both the US and China are offering different kinds of security assistance. When we talk about security assistance, we're talking about support to armed forces. We're talking about support to the police, the law enforcement, the kind of the apparatus of governance, the enforcement apparatus of governance of these different countries. And so what's fascinating is that, the U.S. typically focuses on regional security. We focus on, could one country attack another? Could one country shut down a shipping lane? Could one country upend the status quo in a region? China tends to sell internal security. It's very smart because they recognize that the US is much more hesitant to do this. So they focus on strengthening the ability of the regime, whatever that regime may be, with no qualms about whatever that regime may be, strengthening the ability of that regime to survive. And so what Sheena and what John were talking about is there are, the US just may be uncomfortable or unwilling to provide certain types of tech and policing in areas where China is super willing to do it. So let me pause there, Ben, and just I'd love to get your take on this. What maybe lay out for folks, why is this something that matters, and how is it different than how does it maybe constrain the options versus what we've seen in the past?
Yeah, influence matters, right? And there's hard power, there's soft power, there's all sorts of power. And it's interesting that the Cold War dichotomy that was, we learned in high school and middle school is different now. And that makes sense, it's different now. We have the internet, right? Everything's different now. And I think how we think about that dichotomy, even on ourselves, right? Like, we are intertwined with China, right? So as much as we might think we have a different dichotomy, we're totally different.
Absolutely. I think what it all comes back to is, we've had this conversation before, it's about leverage. Do we have the ability to exert our will, or if we're afraid to, protect, or if we're not willing to pull out because China's right there waiting, that constrains a policy set. And that means that we as Americans have less choice. That's a bad thing. Oh boy. Before I get on a run here, I see we've got another guest hopping into the Steam Zone. Austin Gray, co-founder of Blue Water Autonomy. How we doing, brother?
What's up, Noah? What's up, Ben? How we doing?
Welcome to the Steam Zone. How's it going out in Detroit?
It's good. I'm in I think the largest Marriott room I've ever seen out here in Michigan. I don't know why they upgraded me. I don't have the good status.
There it is.
But it's been a great 2 days. We talked about some shipbuilding, and people are pretty hyped up.
Austin, you've got some news today. I'm excited to have you in here. It's blowing up on my feed. Blue Water Autonomy has landed in DC. Tell us what's going on.
Yep. So, since day one, 2 years ago, Rylan and I have stayed very close to the customer, right? We've listened closely to the Navy on what they need. Now we're announcing, as our team hits 20 people, that we've opened a Washington, D.C. office. We've been very fortunate to have a couple of the top engineers from a big DARPA program for unmanned ships join our team all about at the same time. And, with that influx of talent in the National Capital Region, and with our plans to expand our BD team and to conduct live demos for the Navy, for Congress, et cetera, in DC, it's time to open up an office. So Navy Yard location, dope rooftop views over the mall and the hill, and all you guys will be invited for a pretty sweet kickoff party when the weather's nicer, though. We don't want to do it right now.
Hell yeah, Steam Zone coming at you live from Austin's rooftop. Give us the context, man. Like, what is it? What is the target? Because Reindustrialize is made for people like you. What are you guys trying to accomplish? And let's start there. What is Blue Water all about?
Yes, I mean, what we're trying to do is we're trying to build the Liberty ship of the 21st century. And with the production challenges you have right now in the American industrial base, you're not going to build many more destroyers or many more big complex submarines. But U.S. shipyards can build many 150-foot to 200-foot unmanned ships without a lot of the specialty, NAVSEA mil-spec requirements, built off commercial supply chains, and built in the 40 shipyards in the U.S. that currently aren't contributing much to the Navy, but are standing by, ready to go. And so companies like us and many other companies announced different shipyards, different sea gliders, different ships they're building at Reindustrialize. And the Secretary of the Navy got up there and emphasized what a big deal shipbuilding is to him. And he hammered that message over and over again. And I think he's got some more things behind the scenes that he's working on to make it easier for companies like us to do business with the Department of the Navy. So we're excited to hear those details when they come out.
I'm selfish. Marine on a Navy ship. Tell me how this benefits the Marine Corps.
Marine on a Navy ship, how does it benefit the Marine Corps? So the big problem I have with unmanned ships in the Marine Corps is you guys don't have any money because the Navy controls the money And the Navy's like, we're not giving any money. We're still figuring out for ourselves. We're not carving out a line for the Marines to fool around with unmanned ships. Keep to your coloring, boys. That being said, if I step back, the Marines and the Army have a huge contested logistics problem. So they need to move mass across the ocean, into theater, and then once they're in theater, they need intra-theater sea lift capabilities to get warheads and get ammo and get food and other types of supplies, onto and over the beach to resupply, some Marines who are holding some littoral territory.
Austin, give us a quick rundown. I mean, you teased some of it. It sounds like you know a bunch of stuff about the secnav's agenda that he didn't share publicly. Give us a quick rundown. Like, what are the quick hits, highlights on the shipbuilding world from Reindustrialize in the last 2 days? I mean,
people are excited about the reconciliation money, right? $2.1 billion for medium unmanned, with the line I care about the most. 10 to 30 or 40 billion for shipbuilding, depending on how you count. That's a big deal. They're thinking about some reforms. If you read the Political article that came out 2 days ago, where they're going to streamline some of the org chart around buying stuff in the Navy. There's NDAA language that came out also 2 days ago that says that if you're buying unmanned ships, you don't have to go through every single authority in NAVSEA and get all these technical warrant holders to approve your design. So it kind of streamlines the approval process and the requirements, input for saying this vessel is good to buy if you're doing it unmanned, because men and women's lives aren't at risk on an unmanned ship the same way. So you don't need to have all the same exact certifications. So they're doing a lot of streamlining that I think is visible in the public domain, in the NDAA, in the budget, in the stuff that the political guys got a hold of and leaked out there. But I'm really excited about the opportunity for the Navy to move out, because if you look at the press coverage of like the White House Shipbuilding Office, there's been some disappointment in the last few days that the White House Shipbuilding Office was shut down, maybe moved down to the Office of Management and Budget. But I think the Navy's ready to catch the pass here from the higher levels of the executive branch and move out and build some ships. And so that's what I'm waiting on seeing from the department.
He's Mr. Shipbuilding, loves him some ships. Austin, appreciate you making some time to drop in here to the Steam Zone. I know you got to get back out to happy hour. We won't keep you long.
Got 2 or 3 happy hours coming up. So
he's got them back to back to back. Ben will see at some of them, I'm sure. 10 seconds, blow off some steam. What's top of mind for you?
Ooh, what's top of mind for me? I've got a dope design call coming up in about 20 minutes with my technical team, and we're going to go and shake out some specs for the vessel, and I'm going to get back out there into Michigan with the guys.
We love it. This is founder mode. He's all blue water autonomy all the time. He's Austin Gray. Thank you for joining us, sir. Have fun out there.
Thanks, Noah. Thanks, Ben. See you guys.
See ya. What do you think, Ben? Are you convinced with his approach to the Marines?
Yeah, I think we need a line item for the Marine Corps to get some autonomous vessels. So we'll work on that.
Talk about an industry that's heating up. I mean, everybody's got it. Like, it was drones, now it's shipbuilding. Everybody's going autonomy at sea. It's cool. We're gonna see some the exercises these next few years are gonna be wild. We need to sell tickets. We need to have this needs to be publicly accessible. I want F1. I want Drive to Survive. I want the full narrative treatment on this stuff. It's gonna be great.
But if we lose the driver as a character, do we have to bring on the AI as a character for the Drive to Survive autonomy?
Elon just released a new avatar last night. It's a dude. It's we can slap a new name on it, a new face on it, and I'm not worried about this. We'll crush this.
Hopefully, all the different autonomous subs have sponsors.
Sponsor the autonomous subs.
Coca-Cola sub.
Hell yeah. This is what we're going to do. We're getting a Kickstarter together. We're going to get the Steam Zone sub out there. If you watch the show and you like it, since we do this out of love of country and mission here, you can kick into the Kickstarter, the Steam Zone. We're going to have Ben's face tattooed on the side of one of these autonomous subs with no sleeves.
No sleeves.
No sleeves. All right, Ben, we're going to close that one out. That brings us to our final topic of today. Holy hell, man. We've been steaming on this one for a couple of days. I've been waiting for this. Tell us about the ProPublica article and the discovery of what was going on with Microsoft in China.
Yeah, it's pretty wild that Microsoft on government contracts had people working in China, had developers in China accessing important government information, right? This is just wild. It is shocking. Maybe not shocking to some others, but I think it is just a complete abdication of moral responsibility by Microsoft. I think, who knows? I'm sure some lawyers will find some way it was legal in the contracts, but come on, this can't be how we do things.
This is one of the most egregious things I've ever seen. Okay, this is 2025. This is not 2017. This is, I mean, look, we like to hate on the media. We shit on the media all the time on this show and on others. This is why organizations like ProPublica are super important to the country, because this is an example of the media protecting our country. They unearthed this by snooping through, and they found, to be very clear, Microsoft was using engineers, not Chinese nationals, engineers in China to engineer a DoD database with digital escorts who had no idea what was going on. That is not only egregious, I would argue it's criminal. I want to see this prosecuted. It is enough of this nonsense. If Silicon Valley doesn't want to work with DoD, fine. Do I agree? No. Will I tolerate it? Sure. If they're going to get in the fight and do crap like this that jeopardizes the mission, that puts our men and women in uniform at risk, and that is clearly putting profit above country, they have no business working with the government. I want to see this investigated, and frankly, if this is the kind of crap they're doing, I want to see Doge on their other contracts. Get them the hell out of there. There is no reason and absolutely no tolerance for this kind of behavior in 2025 when we are a year and a half away from Xi's stated goal of Taiwan 2027. This is, Ben, I can't, it was really hard. I was racking my brain. It takes a while. I had to go deep. I could not find anything this egregious in modern company history with respect to stupidity between the U.S. and China.
Take a positive spin. Maybe this helps us think more in depth about the work and where the work's getting done across all companies, and gets everyone to take a closer look. And being charitable, maybe what happened is some sort of subcontractor or something, when you get into the details, that just wasn't properly investigated. So let's all take a moment for everything we do and dig into it.
Ben is letting cooler heads prevail and is either a empath or a Microsoft apologist. I'm not sure. Jury is out. We'll let this one play out. We won't pass judgment, but I will just say that face value, it does not look good. We'll go ahead and for Ben's sake and for the sake of my sanity, we will close that tab. All right, next up, now entering the Steam zone, we've got Adam Gluck, Copia Automation. Adam, you're freaking kitted up, man. I love that. The hat, the shirt, the lanyard. Ben put sleeves on this week. We went backwards. We've been getting less and less clothing. He's putting on more. I don't know what's going on, but you look great, man.
Yeah, well, you need people to be able to recognize you in the crowd, so people keep walking up to me and be like, I saw your hat, how are you doing, so that it's easier for people to spot me, as we're walking around, this conference. So.
What did the protesters have to say as you walked by with the Be a Good Human hat? Anybody pick up on that, or are they kind of backed off?
No, I don't think so. They just started shouting shame at me. So, I don't know. I was just trying to sit there and finish my coffee as I walked by, but I was just hearing shame.
Did you take your shirt off? You're like, there's nothing to be ashamed of here.
Nothing to be ashamed of here. My BMI, totally appropriate. Yeah, for sure. No, we were joking earlier. I was like, actually, just that's my internal monologue all day anyway. So it's.
Copia Automation is nothing to be shameful of. Tell us about the company.
Oh yeah. So Copia Automation. I don't know how technical the audience is, but we do on a broad. I'll start with technical explanation. I'll move into a really simple one. But technical explanations. DevOps for controls engineers. Controls engineers are the people that build automation in factories. So you see an assembly line or a robot or a sensor or something like that. Those are the people that program those devices that run critical infrastructure. We basically help them build production environments more efficiently at more scale without breaking things. So you have code and configuration across all these devices, and we enable people to manage a massive scale of industrial production. Our customers, I can talk about publicly, is like Amazon is a big customer of ours. A lot of their distribution centers use Copia. Or we operate in a lot of their distribution centers. Another example is Daniele Automation. It's a multinational steel company, but we tend to work with large-scale industrial enterprises who have a huge amount of automation, huge amount of production and distribution, supporting them to manage that amount of scale.
That's amazing, man. Tell us, why did you decide to bring the show to Detroit this week? It sounds like you got a ton of traction. You're doing great things. What got you out of the office?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny because I think a lot of the founders here are like, why are we here? You know what I mean? Shouldn't we be selling customers or recruiting people or raising money or, talking to our product and engineering teams or any of those other activities that make up the day-to-day of founders? And I think, I talked to one founder today, and I think this is a good answer, which is like, this is where a lot of the conversation is happening in general around the kind of verticals that we're operating within. So I think it's good to be here and just kind of hear how people are thinking about it. And then also, a lot of the like world-class founders, investors, et cetera, that are focused policy people focused on this space are at this conference right now. So it's a really good way, people that you see once in a while, maybe you see them at an LP dinner or some sort of VC happy hour or whatever, suddenly they're here. So it's a really good, I think, concentration of people who are focused on these problems. And I think you get like 2 days of a event that's more about branding and conversation than it is about generating leads and generating revenue. And I think that if you're going to spend 2 days doing that as a founder, this is a good place to spend those 2 days, and I think it's been really good to connect with everyone who's focusing on these problems.
Totally. Give us your high and low. What was the coolest, most interesting or exciting thing you heard or saw, and what was the dumbest or the most frustrating thing that you saw?
Well, the talk I just left, and I delayed a little bit. I think I was texting Ben about it, but the talk I just left was really cool about the liberal world order of the last 80 years and what we should do with it. I think this event tries to be pretty nonpartisan, but it's definitely interesting to be like, hey, is the liberal world order, the institutions, economic alliances, international policy that we set up after World War II, is it still working for us or is it not working for us anymore? Should we throw it out or should we not? And the general consensus in that conversation was, well, it's actually worked pretty damn well for the last 80 years. So throwing it out seems like a little bit of a ridiculous overstatement for things that are becoming challenges, but it's also an 80-year-old system. So how do we like revamp, this world order that's given incredible prosperity and freedom and health to so many people globally and reduce conflict so massively? How do you refresh that? And then what is the role that America has to play in it? And when you think about reindustrialization, what does that next stage of industrial production look like? And how does that enable us to interact with that global system and refresh it? Really interesting conversation. I believe in the liberal world order. I'm a lib, but I think that it's an interesting question, especially as you look towards like AI and industrials and AI in the physical world. Like I think the next stage of industrial production is going to look radically different, and I believe the world order will restructure around that kind of radical change in material production. And so, what does that look like? And that's in the name of our company, Utopia, is the Latin word for abundance. So we think about this a lot. Okay, that's the high. The low. Ben and I ended up at a bar with like 95 guys, just like all sweating on each other at like 11:45, and I was like, I got immediate headache. You know what I mean? The main thing was the sweating men. That was the challenge. A room full, tightly packed bar filled with like all guys sweating on you. That was brutal. So that was probably the low point. Was that
95 sweaty men. I get it. Not my idea of a good time.
Yeah.
But hey, I'm sure there was redeeming value in the experience for you.
Yeah. So that was a low. Yeah, I don't think there's another lows. No, it's been a really good event. It was a really good event. So yeah, it's been good overall. So
awesome, Adam. We know you got to get out there and get back to it. Thanks for stopping in to the Steam Zone. You got 10 seconds. Blow off some steam. What's top of mind for you?
Blow off some steam. I don't know, man. I think things are good. I mean, energy vibes are good, so let's just keep building. I think that's the big thing ultimately, is you can listen to these conversations and you're just like, fucking build stuff. You know what I mean? Like we can radically transform the way our economy works. And so let's get more people building, more aggressively. So that'd be, if I'm going to blow off steam, that's the steam I'll blow off here. So I won't say too much anti-Zoran stuff because you're in Bushwick, but outside of that, I'll keep it cool. So, all right, I'll catch you later. Take care.
See you, Adam. Thanks for stopping by. Hey, that's a character, man. 95 dudes sounds like a lot of dudes, but he seems like a good time. If he's one of them, maybe it was all right.
Yeah, as long as you got a bunch of people with Be a Good Human, I think you'll have a good time.
All right, so Ben, we've closed a bunch of tabs. We've had some cool guests. I know you got to get back out to happy hour. Sum it all up for us. You go to a lot of these kinds of conferences. For folks who are not in the defense and the national security and kind of the manufacturing worlds, what makes this more than just a bunch of dudes, maybe a few women, mostly dudes, sitting around drinking beers, having a good time together? What's like the value of things like this?
Yeah, I think it is, when you're working on a company, you spend a lot of time alone, right? You spend a lot of time in your silo. And I think when you get out to events like this, certainly you are finding ways to work together with other entrepreneurs. You are finding traditional companies with new companies and creating all these partnerships. And that absolutely is there. But also I think it's just the energy. It's the energy of knowing that other people are facing some of the same problems, are facing different problems, but are in the foxhole in a sense with you. So only at an event like this can you get that same energy with other founders, with other traditional factories, and everyone kind of clearly on the same team, marching in a similar direction. Only at something like this can that happen.
And community matters, undoubtedly, my friend. And the stories of the people that you are meeting along the way, I'm sure we will continue to tell in the days and weeks ahead. Ben, let's fast forward. I don't want to end your visit to Detroit prematurely, but as you look forward to next week, what are you looking for?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to next week. Like, you leave a conference like this, you're energized. How do you bring that energy back? How do you, we talked about this last week, execution matters. So how do you follow up with everyone that was important that you meet at the conference? How do you figure out, take your lessons learned and apply it to things? So next week is a week where you're not traveling, where you're at home alone again, and how do you actually make the rubber meet the road? So that's the kind of week next week, and excited to talk about those details of execution that'll make things like this really valuable.
Love it. Well, we're trading places. I get to hit the road next week. And for next week's Steam Zone, I will be on site in Texas. Can't say too much more than that, other than we will be at a big opening down in Texas. Excited for that. Excited to meet some great Americans building for our national defense. That's all we got from today. Ben, get out there and enjoy those cold, cold Bud Lattes, baby. Thanks for making the time. We'll see you next week in the Steam Zone.